All right, we are rolling. Hey now.
Live.
Welcome
Hola.
back,
Hey
fellas.
now.
Ahoy.
Welcome back, fellas, and welcome back, people of the internet. This is episode 66.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We're a day late,
Day
and a
late,
dollar short.
$1 gained.
Okay, I like
Ooh,
that one
how about
better. Yeah, that's better. But that's okay. We're late, but that's okay because it's the month of Halloween, boys.
Yep.
That's right, folks. The most joyous time of year.
Nope.
We're all
That's
month.
Christmas.
Nah, fuck Christmas. All month we'll be celebrating all things horror, the macabre, if you will. Love that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Last year we focused mostly on slashers. I was thinking about it. I was like trying to like relive the movies we watched, and it was mostly slashers, I think. But this year I think we got a more diverse palette of horror flicks planned, as far as I could tell. So folks, if horror movies are your thing, be sure to check out harshlanguage.tv for all our links. And, maybe consider hitting that sub button right here on YouTube, or on YouTube if you're not watching on YouTube, or subscribe anywhere you listen to, actually, for that matter. We ain't gonna argue about it.
Just do it.
What the hell are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language?
How are you guys doing? How was your week?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Haven't been watching anything really.
Nah.
Over the weekend I was doing like some family stuff, so I was gone.
Oh, where'd you go?
I did get to watch the movie, obviously, so that's good. Just to some of my fiance's family's house for like a birthday thing, and then
a local.
Went to watch some football. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm not really like a super football fan, but
no, neither am I.
What game did you watch?
We Chargers and Raiders.
Mm.
It was
I know
I'm on the West Coast, so it's a spicy dynamic there.
Yep.
Yeah, he got like 6 sacks or something.
Yep.
I know we try to avoid politics, but I just have to talk about it because it's fucking funny to me that how like Republicans have like zero things of substance to talk about or policy to talk about, so they just latch on to the most like inane, stupidest fucking things on the planet. So like all weekend, well, since yesterday, I guess. Oh no, I'm sorry, since Sunday. All I've been getting on like social media is this whole thing with Taylor Swift because she's dating like
the
Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce. And I don't know why like the right-wing media outlets are like focusing on it. I know why they hate her. They hate her because she's like getting younger people to go out and vote, and like, mostly left-leaning, I guess. And she gave all her workers like $100,000 bonus, which is quite progressive. So that's why they hate her. But the fact that they're just focusing on this, that she's dating a football player, it's so funny to me. So I've been seeing a lot of that and laughing about it. And I just want to talk about it. That's it. Don't care either way. But it's like, why the fuck does anybody give a shit who she's dating? But then Nick, he's a big football fan. He's a huge Raiders fan. I don't know if you guys know that about him. But he also hates the Chiefs, which I think her boyfriend is on, right?
Yes.
So the way he explained it to me, the Chiefs-Raiders rivalry is like pretty much Rangers-Islanders in a sense. It's like a pretty heated rivalry. So he is of the opinion, and so are other people from what I've seen on the internet, that like the league just like basically, curves the ball to help the Chiefs win in like every regard.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's
they won 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls, so they're building a dynasty down there.
Right. So that's Nick is like the limit of my football knowledge, but yeah, hockey season kind of started.
In shambles. Yeah.
In preseason.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. When is the regular season? It's like the 20th or something, right?
The 12th, I think, is the first game.
Oh, okay.
I could be off by like a day or two, but I'm pretty sure that's when it is. But yeah, I haven't been watching anything either. I actually just kind of like half binge watched some like trashy reality show on Netflix with my friend. That's kind of funny. I'm not usually into those things. Yeah. Netflix has been. What
show was that?
This one I think is called the Ultimatum or something.
Oh yeah, I've actually heard of that.
and it's basically couples who. The way I didn't watch it from the beginning with her, I kind of jumped in like towards the last couple episodes, but from what I understood, it's like couples. One of the people in each couple really wants to get married, and the other person kind of doesn't for whatever reason. So they go on this show, and then each couple chooses other people from other couples for which they're gonna like basically fake marry for like a couple weeks, and then they live with that person. So it's kind of to get to see what like life is like outside of these relationships. And then after spending time with these other people, they have to then go back to live with their actual boyfriend or girlfriend after having, like, I guess, seen a different perspective. And it's just like, it seems like the most like psychologically traumatic thing you could do to yourself if you're in a relationship, but
terrible.
It was kind of funny. Yeah, I guess
ultimatums are a no-go.
No. Can't be given.
Someone gives you an ultimatum, you should leave that person.
In some aspects, I think I understand it, right? Like if you're dating somebody for like 10 years, I mean, and they want to get married, it's like, all right, well, come on, you got to shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
But, you know, because some people like to avoid that type of like commitment or whatever. It's like, what do you mean? We've been together for 10 years. You're already committed. What is the difference if we get married? I mean, I guess there's a difference like, legally and stuff, but whatever.
Yeah, but, yeah.
How about you, Dusty? You been watching anything or what?
I mean, the regular old shows. I watched actually a couple movies this week. I watched Reptile. It's on Netflix. It's Benicio del Toro and Justin Timberlake. It's
you mentioned that to us.
whodunit thriller murder mystery. And then I watched Butcher's Crossing, which is Nick Cage's 6th movie to come out this year.
Yeah, he's fucking pumping.
He's got another one coming out pretty soon, the one where everybody dreams about him. But Butcher's Crossing is a wild one. It's about like 1860s. It's a take on the massacre of the bison back in the day.
Okay.
But it's a little weird, but it's also very interesting and a little sad. So it's pretty good. Yeah. Other than that, just the regular old shows. I haven't watched Ahsoka yet because it came out today. But
right. How many episodes are they doing?
This might be the last one. Yeah, episode 8. This should be the last one. So there's one more. Yeah, this is it.
There's a couple of new shows coming out this month. So that'll be interesting. Loki season 2 starts, I think, in just a couple days, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Thursday.
Yeah, October 5th premieres. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching that. Hopefully it doesn't go way of the most recent Marvel stuff. That'd be a shame because season 1 was really good. And then another show that I'm hyped for, October 12th, The Fall of the House of Usher. The new Mike Flanagan miniseries comes out on Netflix on October 12th. That's going to be big.
Mm-hmm.
Frasier, we've talked about the reboot of that. That's coming. A lot of stuff this month. That's also October 12th. And yeah. There's also a show I saw coming to Netflix called Pain Hustlers with Emily Blunt and Chris Evans. You guys have seen anything about that?
Yeah, I think I briefly talked about the trailer that was released a couple weeks ago, but
yeah. It's about the opioid epidemic, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Looks interesting.
Yeah. But
Chris Evans?
Oh yeah, Marvin. Chris Evans, Captain America himself, baby. And then the other show that I'm hyped for is Goosebumps, which we talked about a little bit. That's coming out on October 13th. Very excited for that.
That's gonna be good.
I hope it's good.
I hope it's good.
And I don't know if it's worth mentioning, but well, it is worth mentioning because it's interesting. But on October 1st, which is the 3rd right now that we're recording, but on the 1st, the 35th season of The Simpsons premiered on Fox.
Shout out.
That show is
the longest running shit.
It's the longest running sitcom, I think, ever in the history of TV. I think it might be the longest running show, period, in the history of television. I think
and predicted the future for 35 years.
Yeah.
Outside of the soap operas. Those are like 60 seasons.
I think I think it's longer.
No, it's not. Definitely not. I don't think it's As the world turns,
General
the days
Hospital
of our lives,
is like 60
General
seasons.
Hospital, yeah, those things have been going
60 seasons. Damn,
dude. Even Sesame Street was 53 seasons. So
okay, all right. I think the only other like show that has gone on longer, or sitcom rather, like specifically sitcom, is Always Sunny. I think Always Sunny has like one of the records. What happened with that, Marvin? You gave up on that? Weren't feeling it?
No, it's just so much to watch.
Yeah, I know.
Really.
How's your X-Files been going?
I'm almost done with the first season. I just haven't been watching it lately, or I would have probably been well into season 2.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I actually, speaking of the X-Files, reminded me because, as you know, we've talked about Vince Gilligan worked on the X-Files. I like to watch those GQ YouTube series where they like get like a famous actor to talk about their most famous roles or whatever. Well, I watched a bunch the other night that was focused on directors. I had sent you guys the Martin Scorsese one.
Yeah.
Because we had just been talking about him, and he said like several times during that video that like, oh yeah, he's like, I didn't want to do another like fucking genre movie. Like I did mafia stuff already, but ended up making like 15 mafia movies. But one of them, they did Rian Johnson, and Rian Johnson, you know, he directed the Knives Out movies and The Last Jedi and all those.
Last Jedi, yeah.
Looper, very good director. But he also directed a handful of Breaking Bad episodes. He's the one who directed the Fly episode, which I always tell you is like an X-Files episode.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why my brain just connected these two dots and made me talk about Rian Johnson. And then they liked him so much that they brought him back to do Ozymandias, which I think is the finale of Breaking Bad, or one of the last episodes. I'm pretty sure it's the last episode of the whole series. But and they were showing.
I need you to not talk about like shows that are really good, because I'm just gonna go watch those again instead of watching anything else.
I was just gonna say, watching those clips of Breaking Bad, like really
time for another rewatch.
It might be. I don't know. I mean, it's just so fucking good.
Nah, I mean it is.
He was talking about the.
You'll never get in. Well, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, Ryan Johnson was talking about the episode because in Ozymandias, that's the one where Skylar like gets the knife and she like threatens Walt. And then when he leaves, she like has that really emotional scene where she like drops to her knees out in the street and stuff. So he was talking about shooting that, and he was like giving her credit how good of an actor she is, because like it was cold that day and she had to like fall on her knees and like, you know, do multiple takes and all this stuff. And then I was just thinking like, God damn, like this show is so fucking, it's like unbelievable. Really. It's like, it was so good.
Yep.
So it might be time for a rewatch. Maybe I'll rewatch that and go straight into Better Call Saul. Or maybe I'll watch it in reverse. Maybe I'll watch Better Call Saul and then watch Breaking Bad. Who knows? We'll see.
Maybe.
Sounds like a plan. I do really want to join you on your X-Files journey and maybe watch along with you. So maybe I'll do that. It's been a while since I've watched that show.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of episodes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's old school TV, 25 episodes a season. Or some shit, whatever it was.
Yep, something like that, for sure.
So, some big news this week, Dusty. Why don't you tell us about it? Finally.
Yeah, well, the WGA strike lasted 148 days, May 2nd to September 27th, I think, is when they were allowed to go back to work. So
the great strike.
Damn.
Writers are back, so nighttime television is back and daytime television is back, and you know, everybody's getting back to work on their projects. Yeah, that's happening too.
Oh, it's on my Netflix. Yeah.
He was saying like all the things that are happening.
Yeah, the SAG-AFTRA strike is still going on. They started July 14th.
Yeah, right.
And we talked about them authorizing a strike against the interactive media contract, which is video games.
Mm-hmm.
They did authorize that strike, but that was just an authorization to vote to strike. Like they didn't actually vote to strike.
Right.
It was almost unanimous. I think 98% voted yes. 34,600 members voted, representing about 27%.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like the same number of people that vote in general politics also vote in union strikes.
Right.
So that was interesting. But they finally met with the AMPTP yesterday for a full day of negotiations, and I think they're supposed to meet again tomorrow. And just as the end of the WGA strikes, top studio CEOs were in attendance, Iger and Zaslav and all the other names. So we'll see. I don't know. They just wanted to authorize the strike for the interactive media contract just in case, so they have more leverage while they're negotiating. Who knows how long their strike's going to last? Maybe because the WA strike is over, they will move things along, but it's plausible that they hold out because they're more worried about AI than I think the writers were, because AI still can't write very well, and they can do a lot with actors, especially background actors. So we'll see how that goes. We'll keep up on it. But yeah, that's kind of it on the strikes. Podcast news: Google Podcast is shutting down sometime this year, or no, next year, sometime in 2024. Wow. No actual date has been given. This isn't really a surprise. They've been slowly moving things over to YouTube Music and YouTube. They're adding features to YouTube Music, like the ability to comment on the podcast stuff, which you could do on the YouTube, but not do YouTube Music. And I guess they cited independent research by Edison. About 23% of weekly podcast users in the U.S. say YouTube is their most frequent used service versus just 4% for Google Podcasts. So it's an old, it was just audio, and YouTube's video, and kids these days like the video. So
I kind of figured that was going to happen when they rolled out the YouTube specific podcast like playlist. And you could even go to like youtube.com/podcast, and it's just podcast stuff.
Yep. Yeah. So they're just rolling all their features into YouTube, and YouTube's going to be their media hub instead of having,
Hear that, folks? If you've been listening to us on Google Podcasts, jump over to YouTube and hit that sub button.
All right. There is one more strike news. Deadpool 3 likely won't hit its target date of May 3rd, 2024, because the actor strike is still going on.
Kind of expected.
It's probably going to have to be pushed back.
Hold on. Is the strike ended now, or is it was just tentative
for the writers? The writers can get back to work, so they're able.
There's still the actor strike.
Yeah. So there was a show we were talking about that only had like 2 days of recording left to do when the strike happened. Okay. But then we were talking about the Spawn movie that I think McFarlane said they had like 30 pages left. So now that the strike's over, they can finish those 30 pages, but they can't start filming because the actors are still striking.
Right.
So that's what's happening with that. And then another interesting piece of news to go on what Marvin was talking about earlier. We have the Streaming Innovation Alliance, or the SIA, was just formed.
Fuck is that, like the Axis of Evil or some shit?
This basically. It's the industry's first unified streaming coalition, and includes most of the streaming service titans like Netflix, Paramount Plus, Pluto TV, WB's Max, Comcast, Peacock, and Disney, which has Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus. And then there's Television Univision and For Us, By Us, a couple other ones. They all have seats on the board. The formation was reportedly created by the Motion Picture Alliance CEO Charles Rivkin.
Okay.
And is led by former Michigan Representative Fred Upton, who was a Republican, and former FCC chairperson Mignon Clyburn, who was a Democrat. And they are senior advisors. Apple and Amazon, Roku, and Tubi are all missing from this alliance thus far, but they're welcome to join, I guess, if they want to. But this was created to form a collective power to fight calls for regulation from our current legislature. And that's why they've got these former politicians on there, one that was actually from the FCC chair. Because the FCC and more recently the National Association of Broadcasters have been vying to get streaming services rebranded as cable TV companies, which the members argue would prevent them from negotiating separate deals with local stations and increase the price of services. They're complaining about increasing the price of services when they're actually increasing the price of their services.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. State governments have tried to impose cable taxes on like Netflix and stuff in the past, and it's failed because they're not classified as cable companies, which I could see like streaming. If it goes up and you're just streaming it, that's one thing. But if you're streaming live, then maybe like YouTube TV, you could argue that YouTube TV probably is a cable service because they're streaming live stuff. But if it's like Disney Plus, where you can't stream anything live, you're really just watching stuff that's been uploaded and you're downloading it.
We lost Marvin.
It's a little different.
All right, we're back.
So yeah, we were talking about the SIA and how it's like a union of these giant streaming conglomerates because they don't want to pay taxes as being branded as cable companies. They don't want to have to raise their prices, even though they're raising their prices. So
right, they're just trying to
we got this shit
extract
show.
every cent possible from the consumer, and who always gets fucked in the end? The consumer.
That's right. So
because all the raised prices and all this shit, it won't even lead to like really good shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
They'll continue at business as usual, just making more money and more money and more money, and that's just how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's that. And okay, I guess we'll do WB. Not a lot of WB news this week. They have, since the writer's strike is over, they have reinstated some of their top creator deals. We talked in the past about how they were suspending those to save money because they didn't want to pay them while the strike was going on. So Greg Berlanti's deal was reinstated. J.J. Abrams' deal was reinstated, which I don't know what all JJ is doing. His Bad Robot is still tied to the animated series Batman Caped Crusader, which is going to stream on Amazon Prime. But all his other DC studio projects he was tied to, like Constantine and all that was all ended after James Gunn and Safran took over in 2023. So I don't know what they have in store for JJ Abrams, but Berlanti will probably stay on at DC Studios. So we'll see what happens.
Let me tell you what. James Gunn better give me some fucking Constantine. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Something, please. Because that shit was exciting, and then they ripped it away from us.
Yeah. Well, that's like me. I've been waiting on a Gambit movie since I heard that they were trying to make one, but yeah.
We all have our thing, but for DC, like I'm excited for Superman Legacy, obviously, but I would rather have a Constantine movie, to be perfectly honest with you, because there's so little Constantine content, I feel like.
Right.
And the first movie was so good. The show was good, and they fucking canceled it.
Yeah. Apparently he's happy with the Superman Legacy script. Sorry, go ahead, Marvin.
I was going to say we got a little bit of Constantine and Sandman.
Yeah, and it was fucking great. It was so good.
Yeah, it was good.
Have you seen?
We have had reports that they're going to try and make a Constantine 2 with Keanu. So
Keanu was on board. He wanted to do it.
Yeah. So I don't know the writers. Well, maybe they'll get some scripts. We'll see. We'll have to try to keep an eye on that. But
have you seen that movie, Marvin? You have, right?
What?
Constantine?
Oh, Constantine,
Keanu?
the original. Yeah.
Oh, so good. Might be, honestly. I think we talked about it last week. Like one of the MCU comic book movies. It might be the best one out there. It really might.
Yeah, that and Blade. I mean, those are two my top two comic book movies pre.
It's so fucking good.
Universe building. Yeah.
And fucking Peter Stormare as Lucifer was just born to play the role.
Yeah. But apparently James Gunn is happy with the Superman Legacy script because he revealed on Twitter that he has moved on to a new project and is currently writing season 2 of Peacemaker.
Yeah.
So that'll be in the pipe coming up soon. So if you're a big fan of the show, which I still haven't watched, and I feel bad about it because
you should watch it. It was amazing.
It's on the list, but I haven't got around to it.
I've seen some funny Zack Snyder fandom centric commentary about that. They're like, can't believe James Gunn is just ignoring the universe building in order to write season 2 of Peacemaker. I'm like, why is that surprising? This first season was great, very popular, and everybody loved it. Like, why wouldn't you make a season 2 and prioritize it? That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, he also expanded a little bit on some of the characters that may make it through. But the Creature Commandos is going to be the first block in the new DC universe.
Yep.
And while some of the characters may carry over, and there may be some loosely affiliated ties to some of the stuff that happened in the previous shows and movies from those characters.
Right.
It's all going to be brand new starting from Creature Commandos and then Superman Legacy. So
Blue Beetle's out on streaming. We'll have to schedule that for next month, I think.
Yeah, that'd be a good one to do. Maybe.
Thinking about it.
Know. It's all right.
Oh, you watched it already?
Yeah, I did. I forgot to say I watched that one too. But yeah, I mean, it's good. It's just
Ed told me, shout out to Ed. He said he liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I trust Ed. I don't know.
It was a little long for me. There was some stuff that could have not been in there, but I liked it. I mean, it was a good comic book movie, and I liked it because it was different, different character. But
I hope that we get big enough so that little inside jokes get big enough that we can make merch, because I want a shout out to Ed merch.
Yeah.
I think that'd be funny.
I'm rocking that merch for sure.
People in your family like, who the fuck is Ed?
Shout out.
Shout
Don't matter
out.
who it is.
It don't
Shout
matter.
out right now.
And the last piece of WB news, True Detective Night Country actually has a premiere date.
Oh, the Alaskan
6-episode
one?
season will launch on January 14th on HBO and Max.
What was this?
Is the True Detective Night Country. The
Fourth
third
season.
fourth
Jodie
season,
Foster.
Yeah. Jodie Foster and Callie Rice star in the season, while Isa Lopez serves as showrunner, writer, and director of all episodes. So
Remember, Marvin, this is the trailer that's
we'll
like in
see how it
Alaska
goes.
and shit.
Yeah.
They also released a new teaser trailer alongside the news. So if you want to go check that out, Marvin, after the show, I would recommend it. It looks pretty good. So I'm looking forward to this one.
I think it's
I don't think I've seen any True Detective.
now I'm pissed.
Any.
Oh my God, that first
I don't
season
think I've seen any of it.
amazing.
All right, Marvin, here's what you're gonna do.
No, I've seen I've seen some of Bosch. I haven't seen any True Detective.
Fuck Bosch. Bosch isn't even in the same category. All right, here's what you do,
Come
Marvin.
on, Bosch is good. No,
Marvin,
don't do that.
here's what you
I
gotta
like
do.
Bosch.
Please do this for me.
Mhm.
What?
I'm gonna announce it right now, so you gotta do it. Next week's
What
show,
is that?
before our movie review, we're gonna do a season 1 of True Detective, Marvin's first watch.
Next week?
recap. It's like 8 episodes. You can watch it.
I don't know.
Marvin, once you start, you're not gonna want to put it down. I promise you.
Yeah, just watch
Okay.
one episode when you can this week, and you'll get hooked. And if you can make through them all, that'd be great. If not, we can review what you've seen so far and what you think about it. Just try
Hang
and get
on,
in
okay.
one episode.
Season 1 of True Detective is up there with Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
is
Wow,
one
really?
of the best seasons of television I have ever seen. Season 2 is shit.
Mhm.
There's some good stuff in season 2, but season 2 is mostly bad. And then season 3 is also very good, but season 1 is like the
Yep.
creme de la
Chef's
creme of
kiss.
television. Yeah, it is unbelievable. And you'll be hooked, I promise you. It's an amazing story. Oh, it's so good.
All right.
All
I'll
right.
give it a shot. True
Yeah.
Detective.
Yep, True Detective,
All right.
baby.
On to Disney news then. Let's see. Jeff Snyder of the Hot Mic podcast actually contradicted rumors from fellow industry insider Daniel Rickman, who we reported on last week, I think, that the Taika Waititi Star Wars movie is dead. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I don't remember.
Right.
He was on the podcast and he said a draft is expected. It's not dead. And now that the writer's strike is over, things might start moving forward with that, but only time will tell. So we've got conflicting reports on the Taika Waititi Star Wars movie. We'll just have to wait and see.
I love Taika, but I cannot imagine what a Taika Star Wars movie will look like. I mean, you know, Thor Love and Thunder, it was okay, but it wasn't great for other reasons, like outside reasons, but he really like leaned on the comedy of Thor, which, you know, I don't know that I fully agree with. Like I liked obviously Ragnarok, but Thor they've already tried to establish him as like the comedy relief a little bit in that group. By that time, I cannot see what a Star Wars would look like.
I mean, wasn't there a report like he was doing the Thor movie and he asked Natalie Portman if she wanted to be in the Star Wars movie? Like he didn't know that she was fucking.
Oh, I never
Padme?
heard that, but that's actually hilarious.
I'm pretty sure he asked
Oh
me,
my
like,
God.
you want to be in my Star Wars movie? And she's like, I don't think I can.
There's no
Well, it's
way.
already in Star Wars.
I actually didn't hear that, but that's mad funny.
What
I'm
the
pretty sure
hell?
that could be a rumor, but I don't know. I remember reading that and I thought it was hilarious.
That is funny as fuck.
All right. Other big news, media entrepreneur Byron Allen has shown interest in purchasing the ABC and other assets from Disney. We talked about how Iger wants to sell that because he said Disney, I think in his last, the Q3 meeting, he said Disney or ABC might not be part of the core of Disney moving forward. But apparently Disney's internal deliberations are all that's slowing him down, as capital is of no issue. And then apparently there's some federal limits on station ownership, which cap it at an overall reach of 39% of U.S. households. Nexstar also was in the running for wanting to pick up ABC, but they are already at 39%. So what is it? The Allen Media Group has a leg up, and apparently they've got a lot of money. So yeah, we'll see. What did he say? He said he said he's just waiting for it to be. He's going to hunt it down like a lion hunting a gazelle once Iger says he's ready to sell.
Wow.
So ABC might be in new hands if they decide to sell and they want to make some money, which they've been losing money left and right. So maybe they do. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, Byron Allen of the Allen Media Group is ready to go for ABC. And then Disney's cracking down on account sharing, at least in Canada. They also talked about this in their quarterly meetings. They updated the verbiage on the company's Help Center page. You may not share your subscription outside of your household, which is a little weird because some people have more than one household, and sometimes they're
some people travel
spots, or maybe you've got a Airbnb and you want to offer a service to your customers like, we got Disney Plus, we got Netflix, come on in. And if you can't do that, we'll see.
Damn.
But
cut the cord, folks. Cut
Taking
the cord.
the Netflix route, huh?
We'll see.
Gotta cut the cord. Gotta do it.
And
you know what I'm saying?
We already talked about Loki.
Cut it, Marvel.
The Marvels. The Marvels gets an official MPAA of PG-13. No surprise there.
Nope.
However, it is uniquely different than any other MCU movie. It has the shortest runtime.
Oh.
Coming in at a whopping 105 minutes or an hour 45. I think Thor: The Dark World and Incredible Hulk were they had the previous spot at 117 minutes or an hour 52, so it's 15 minutes shorter than that.
Bring it back down. That's what we need.
Hour 45. Yeah, stop making 2.5 hour movies.
We need hour and 30, hour 45.
Yeah,
yes,
Megan loves that shit.
Love that shit. Yeah.
So we got that news, and I forget when that's coming out, but that'll only be hour 45. So on to the etc. news. We talked about this also, but interesting enough, Sunday Night Football was the most watched Sunday show since the Super Bowl back in February.
There
was a 22% boost from last year's game of the same week. This was a week 4 game. And the female demographic across the ages of 12, 17, 18 to 35, and 35 to 50 were all up like 30 to 50%. And that is exclusively because the Taylor Swift bump. Because she was there with her buddy Blake Lively, and Ryan Reynolds was in tow because they're married. The ratings were up when she was at the game last week, but they weren't up this much. This was Sunday Night Football. It's the only game on at this time. They knew it was going to do it, and during the game, they had a bunch of her commercials for her new Rolling Stones documentary that she's got coming out. So they're really pumping that, and that's
the Swift bump.
That's the Swift bump, and the Chiefs are getting it. So she's been at 2 games in a row, and so it looks like their relationship's getting serious. And Travis Kelce has enjoyed this bump. He has got 900,000 plus followers on social media. He was like top 20 in jersey sales. Now he's top 5 or top 4 in jersey sales, and then Chiefs jerseys with Travis Kelce's number, but the name Swifty on the back are also selling like hotcakes. The only thing that I want to know is what are they going to do with all those jerseys when those two break up and she writes a song about it, because that's what she's known for.
That value will go up.
Maybe.
Bro, she's going to run for president like in 8 years. It's going to be great. And she'll win. And she'll be good.
She
Taylor Swift, I'm calling it right now, folks.
She could fund her own campaign.
Taylor Swift
will
be the first.
The Rock as VP.
Nah, fuck The Rock.
People want him to run too.
Well, The Rock is back in wrestling, by the way. I don't know if that's on your news.
I saw that. What is he like actually wrestling?
I think it's The Rock no, it was just The Rock.
Is he actually wrestling?
I don't know. I just saw like something on Twitter or something with showing The Rock back in the ring or something. I don't know.
I hadn't heard that. Last time I saw, he did an interview with Pat McAfee a couple weeks ago where he talked about it wasn't, coming back. He just had to find the time to do it if he was going to do it, but he had no plans to. So I had not heard that.
Well, mark my words. Taylor Swift will be the first female president of the United States. I'm calling it now, folks. And I'm good with it.
Interesting.
I believe it.
It
was Friday, September 15th. That's when The Rock went back on WWE.
Interesting.
He goes back every now and then to do like little promos and stuff, but I don't know. I saw the same thing you saw, but I kind of skipped past it because I don't care. But I didn't know if he was like actually wrestling or not.
Yeah.
They might need to get that rock pump to get their viewership back up.
Yeah. I think The Rock's only coming back now because of how much the stock. Didn't the stock go up like a crazy amount? Didn't Saudi Arabia buy the WWE or something?
Vince McMahon sold the company,
shit.
To the Saudis, yeah.
Yep.
Crazy.
He bought that company for pennies on the dollar and sold it for billions.
The Rock is
trying to get some of that. He's trying to get some stock in that, bro. He knows.
Yeah.
Okay, Bill Block is out as CEO of Miramax. He was hired back in 2017. His contract just expired and was not renewed. Reports are that he's been out for months. Paramount Global owns a 49% stake in this. Block was better known for buying finished film or distribution rights rather than farming their own IP for new projects, and they want to farm their own IP for new projects. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see who they pick as a replacement. This is a Bob and Harvey Weinstein company. They founded back in '79. But yeah, Bill Block is out as CEO, so it'll be interesting to see where Miramax goes from here. But yeah.
Interesting.
Speaking of Paramount, they're looking to fast track Star Trek now that the writer strike is over. And once the actor strike ends, this movie was stuck in development hell for about 7 years, but the report also states that this will be a reboot of the franchise.
You said Star Trek?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This will be a reboot of the franchise rather than a continuation of J.J. Abrams' series, which takes place during what they call the Kelvin timeline.
Yeah.
However, we had a conflicting report, I think, last week. Screenwriter Lindsay Anderson recently told Collider that the fourth installment starring Chris Pine was still in the works. So this report seems to contradict that a bit. Obviously, they want to fast track this because Star Trek is a big IP and it's a moneymaker. Lots of people like it. So we'll see what happens with
Star
that.
Trek
but
actually good.
Star Trek. I don't know if I mean, my dad was like a huge fan of the back in the day, and then like I used to watch on like cable TV like when I was younger, like the Next Generation or whatever, the one with Picard, and they were all right. Never really my thing.
Socialist utopia.
It is a socialist utopia, yeah, but I don't know. I never really got into them. And the movies
there's some bangers out there. There's some really good stories, and then there's some mid-level stuff. You know, it's there's so much of it. You know, it'd be hard to be like, well, you should start here, you should start there, because like the shows go back to
it has a pretty high barrier to
60s,
entry, sort of the way
70s.
Marvel does now, and the way like Star Wars even does now. So yeah.
Yeah.
And, apparently the Picard show is very good. I've heard nothing but good things about it. So
it is. I watched all 3 seasons, and speaking of, it only lasted 3 seasons. It's done, but now Patrick Stewart is pushing Paramount for a theatrical film to be made. He was speaking with Time Magazine, and he had the following to say. He says, "I am gently pushing Paramount to let us do one single Picard movie, not a Next Generation movie, as we've already done 4 those. That would be an expansion and deepening of the universe. This would be an expansion and deepening of the universe as we've seen in Star Trek Picard. Right. I've discussed this with Jonathan Frakes, Ben Spiner, and LeVar Burton, and they are all game.
That's cool.
So the last season of Picard, they started to bring in a lot more of the old actors from the Next Generation, and so people enjoyed it, and I did too. I thought it was a pretty good little series. It was an interesting little story, but. We'll see if the feature film gets made, but he is pushing for it, which is funny because he was against initially, like even coming back. And then when he decided to come back, he was against bringing old Next Generation characters on. But all that happened and it turned out great. And so now he's like, let's make a movie.
Let me make a boatload of money real quick. No big deal.
Yeah, Sir Patrick. So we'll see what happens with that. But
Yeah.
Speaking of Spawn, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but Jason Blum confirmed the upcoming Spawn reboot will be released in 2025. We talked about the last 30 pages need to be done. He was speaking with comicbook.com during his Exorcist Believer press junket. 2025 is when Spawn is going to come out. I stand by that, is what he said. He's estimated, I think back in 2023, when he was said it was under very, very active development, that 2025 was his date, and now he's saying I stand by it. So he's been saying it for years, and
Okay.
looks like we're gonna get it hopefully sooner than later. And
gotta stay alive.
McFarlane talked about Keith David. He said he was so good performing as Spawn that McFarlane has trouble hearing anyone else do it. And he had some advice for anybody that does do the Spawn. He has little no sense of humor. Got to be like an outlaw, Josie Wales attitude of deadly serious and not much to say at all. Actions do the talking for you. But he also had some praise for Jamie Foxx.
It's a good thing they got Jamie Foxx to do it.
Yeah, I think Jamie Foxx is gonna crush that shit.
He had some praise for Jamie Foxx, and he actually standing behind him. They asked him about it, and he says, "Until Jamie says he can't, he's still my guy. I'm very loyal to the people, and Jamie was my guy, and he's been my guy. He's had a bit of a setback, and he says he's going to get back on top of the mountain. I have no doubt. I know Jamie. He's a very strong-willed, determined human being. So he tells me, don't worry about me, Todd. I'll be there when the bell rings. I'll be there. So I have complete and utter confidence. He had that health scare back in April. Still don't know what that is about. So shout out to Jamie Foxx's circle of friends usually that shit leaks and we'd all already know what it is, but his family and friends kept that shit under tight wraps. We still don't know what the hell happened, but it's good to hear that he's ready to get back on the horse. And he's still all in on the Spawn movie. So this is like one of the more anticipated films that I am waiting for besides Dune. So
same.
Really looking forward to it. And then the last piece of news we have.
Second to last, because I have a piece, but go ahead.
Bloody Disgusting, who broke the news. Dan brought it up last week.
Oh, you stole my news.
Halloween being shopped is reporting that A24 and Miramax are the front runners for the TV rights. A24 previously won the rights to make Crystal Lake, the Friday the 13th TV series for Peacock. Miramax has already co-owns the rights to Halloween. So even if A24 gets it, Miramax will co-produce.
I have an amendment to make to your news. Miramax co-owns the film rights, but Malik Akkad with Trancas is the sole owner of the television rights. And they're
interesting.
And A24's involvement, rumor has it, is specifically to do a show, to do it in line with the Friday the 13th one.
Okay,
so,
that'd be cool. So A24 is stepping up their horror and movie shows. They've been making more and more. They've always made some good ones, but they're in the lead for making the Halloween show. So that's it for the news. Yeah.
I'm glad we're on. Thank you for the news. I'm glad we're on the same page, because you and I both thought to bring this up as it's a segue to another A24 thing. But I just want to clarify, as per Bloody Disgusting, quote, for clarity, while Miramax co-owns the film rights, Trancas is the sole owner of all television rights. From what we understand, there's a massive bidding war going on right now for television rights, with several different parties interested and vying for a chance to bring Michael Myers back to life. We're hearing exclusively that A24 and Miramax are the two main parties currently in battle for TV rights, and that A24 is currently leading the charge. So that's cool. Big fan.
Yeah, that makes more sense why Miramax is also trying to fight for it, because if they just have the film rights, if they had all the rights, they could just sit back and let whoever the highest bidder is come in and do it, and they could co-produce and make money anyways. But if they don't have the rights to the TV series, then I can understand them, which would be interesting now that their CEO is out. Maybe he wasn't fighting as hard and they're trying to get somebody in there who's going to fight for shit like that. So we'll see.
So, thank you again for the news, Dusty. Great segue, because we're here to talk about a A24 film, I think the latest A24 film, if I'm not mistaken. And A24 has made quite a name for itself. Most movies they release can usually be expected to be bangers, at least in my opinion. Their horror films are some of the best, I think, horror movies of the modern era. And they specifically produce like artistic, like psychologically driven, elevated horror most of the time. And Talk to Me is the latest of these movies, which is getting critical praise. It's grossed $72 million worldwide against a $4.5 million budget. And of course, a sequel is actively in development currently. And some people, Marvin, they're saying this could be A24's scariest movie yet. Is it? Let's take a look at Talk to Me.
Let's take a look.
Yeah.
So, Talk to Me is about a mysterious hand that allows you to summon a spirit that appears before you. And if you say, I let you in, you become possessed by said spirit. A group of friends sort of discover how this spirit conjuring activity works, and they become hooked on this new thrill until they take it a little bit too far, and some crazy shit starts to happen. Now, I mean, listen, any normal person would be like, fuck this, get this thing away from me. But they're teenagers, so they don't exactly do the smartest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to feel like they had already taken it too far before, because they know the rules now. They're like, these are the parameters of what we got to do for it to be safe.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more. But folks, they treat this shit. This is a party trick. It's basically a drug for them, and it's it's bringing the hand. The hand going around is like somebody bringing a bag of weed to a house party. It's like, yo, you want to hit that shit? But these kids in this town, this takes place in Australia. I don't know where. They don't ever really say, but it's an Australian film. And as a matter of fact, this movie was directed by Danny Philippou and Michael Philippou, who are the founders of the YouTube channel Raka Raka, which is known for like live action, like horror comedy videos.
Oh.
And the YouTube channel has like numerous awards, apparently. It's like a huge YouTube channel. And like, so this is their first entry into like actual
feature films.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Good job, guys.
Yeah. So look out, folks, because maybe you'll be watching a harsh language produced feature film someday.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, these kids in this movie, they're bored as fuck in this town, and they ain't got nothing left to do but to fucking smoke ghost, I guess. That hand might as well be a crack pipe, baby.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Take another hit.
And they look like crackheads too when they're fucking possessed. They're all fucking, their eyes are all
purple
fucked.
Lips
yeah,
and
purple.
shit. Yeah.
they got that they got that crackhead look. They look like they live in the trap house from fucking They Clone Tyrone.
They just need to get right. Just let them get right.
Yeah, you just got to get right.
Boost it up.
And that shit like makes them fucking euphoric and shit, and they're all like, "Oh fuck, oh."
Somehow it makes them euphoric. I don't understand that.
That's some good ghost.
Because the way they explain it is when they're in the passenger seats, like Get Out. You're trapped. Yeah. You're trapped in the Get Out world.
Well, we get a little bit of.
I don't see how that is fucking euphoric in any way.
Well, we get a little glimpse of it, right, at one point, but that shit don't seem euphoric. In my opinion.
No, that was terrible.
So, yeah, I don't know. They're just smoking Ghost, and they're just doing their thing. And this movie stars, where is she? Sophie Wilde as Mia. She's our main actress. And Joe Bird as Riley. He's basically the, I would say the other star of the film. And then you got some, supporting actors that I've never heard of. These are all actors I've never heard of. But just a couple that are some of them don't even have profiles like on IMDb. But we got her.
Not a lot of Australian actors break into American films. We
got Mia's best friend, the annoying, boring Jade, played by Alexandra Jensen. Miranda Otto as Jade's mom, Sue, Jade, and the kid's mom, Riley, yeah, and a bunch of other people that I've never heard of. So, group of friends. They start getting fucking hooked on smoking Ghost. And one thing I really like is I love the cold open of this movie. The cold open is such a underutilized tool, I feel like, at the filmmaker's disposal that I don't see done very often. Halloween Ends, as the shitty as the movie that was, had a great cold open where the kid falls off the balcony and you like watch that shit happen. Yeah. It Follows has a great cold open where the chick just gets fucking slaughtered on the beach. Or it's not even that. You don't even see her get slaughtered. You just see her running from something and then the aftermath. So it really like sets the tone. And this movie has a great fucking cold open. It's just,
yes, it does.
It's this loud, energetic, it's confusing. And it's basically this character Cole, played by an actor named Ari McCarthy, and he's rummaging through this house party looking for his brother, and Duckett, and he finds Duckett freaking out in a fucking room. He's got scratched up, scarred up.
Too hard.
Yeah, he hit the ghost a little too hard.
You're supposed to exhale, Duckett. You gotta remember to exhale.
Gotta exhale, dude. And Duckett fucking grabs a knife, stabs his brother Cole, and then fucking stabs himself in the face, and then we get the opening credits. So it's
you gotta be fucked up to stab yourself in the face.
Oh yeah, it's a really effective cold open.
Yeah, it was good.
And unfortunately, though, didn't quite set the tone for the rest of the movie. But I still really liked it. And I just want to say, so this movie had like great performances, I think. They're like amazing. So that's why I was really like heavily pointing out the fact that I don't know any of these people, because Sophie Wilde in this movie, who played Mia, was unbelievable. Like, I thought she did such a great job. And she expressed such a wide range of emotions as the movie goes on. She was amazing. And fucking most of the talk is about Riley, kid Joe Bird, who played Riley, who was also fucking amazing.
Yep.
And he had like some hard stuff to do, which we'll talk about. And I thought the performances were really great, really from everybody. Like everybody was like really good. I
can't believe this was only a $4.5 million budget.
Oh, they made fucking bank, baby.
I mean, we talked about that before, about Hollywood overspending and their budget and bullshit. You can make a banger of a movie for a little bit of money and fucking make a fuck ton out of it. So,
yeah.
And this movie uses mostly practical effects, and they're very good too. Like they do enough with them. They're not overly blown out. They're not overdone, and they're used very smartly in this movie, in my opinion. And talking about the plot, I think the plot of the movie is its biggest strength, because unlike normal horror movies, these kids aren't afraid of the paranormal, and like we said, they use it kind of like a drug, like they're taking fucking bong hits and shit.
Some of them aren't. Yeah, the little brother is a little bit skeptical, afraid at first, and then he's like, "Oh, I want to try too," because they were doing it so much. He's like, "Well, this has got to be safe."
He just wanted to be cool, really. It was like the peer pressure. I want to be cool and fit in.
Yeah,
but it's like the Ouija board thing. Like people do that for fun, and it's just like the extreme version of that. Basically.
But
mixed with the party element with the drugs.
Yeah,
treating it like a drug. Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned the peer pressure, because that's really what this movie's about. I think it's about really, the way it follows was sort of like an allegory for like STDs and like being promiscuous and shit like that. This movie to me kind of seemed like not just about like addiction and like how destructive that could be for the person who's addicted and their friends and family and people close to them, but also because this is a very modern like movie. Like these are modern teenagers who are like, addicted to the internet. And this, to me, I kind of read this movie sort of as like an allegory for like the dangers of like TikTok trends and shit like that, because because this hand moves around from group to group. They're watching it on the internet because everybody's filming it. So one person watches it and then they get a hold of it and then they do it and they're filming it and so on and so forth. So maybe maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of how I took it.
That was the only problem that I had with the cold open. I thought it was great too. It actually reminded me of the Jaws cold open a little bit, where like bang, somebody's dead and here we go into the movie. But like when the brother comes out and he's like, he tries to get everybody to stop filming, like that's futile, bro. You know what age you're in. Everybody's gonna film that shit. It was a little bit cringe, but other than that, I loved it. Yeah.
From the trailer, though, you're led to believe this is like a paranormal horror movie, and I think very quickly into the movie, you realize it's more of a thriller, and even towards the end of the film, it turns into just like a straight drama and like a tragedy. But because there were legitimate moments in this where I got pretty emotional, especially the scenes between Mia and her mom. So setting that up a little bit, Mia lost her mom, I think, 2 years ago by the time this movie takes place. And we're told as the audience that she accidentally overdosed on sleeping pills. And this is the anniversary of her mother's death. And she's basically been sort of like, not officially, but like she's been taken into her best friend's family. Sort of, they adopted her, for lack of a better word, not legally or anything like that. She just spends a lot of time there because she has like a bit of a issue with her dad. She feels like her dad is hiding stuff from her about about her mom's death. And so Mia and Jade are best friends, but Mia and Riley, Jade's younger brother, they're very close. And Jade clearly looks up to her. And so that really sets the stage. That's really, it's her emotional state in this time that really sets the stage for what happens in this movie, because the first time they hit the bong, the ghost bong, she's the first to fucking volunteer. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Yeah. And
it gives her fucking a real big rush. And
anything for an escape to get out of the feeling the grief.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's at that moment we're taught really the only rule of this movie, which is that you have 90 seconds to be possessed. Anything past 90 seconds, you're fucking stuck. They got you. So they do it in sort of like a controlled way, I guess you could say. They tie you down. They fucking got a timer. They're all laughing and filming it and smoking weed at the same time. But unfortunately for Mia, she's stuck in it a little bit longer than 90 seconds. And that's basically it sets the stage for the rest of the movie, where like these paranormal elements are sort of unleashed.
Kind of turns her into a medium of sorts, it feels like.
Yeah, kind of. It's one of the problems I had with this movie, which we'll get to. So that's really the only rule of the film, and the rest of it, I think it's a very smart movie. It's a very smart horror movie, because I mentioned the kids aren't afraid of the paranormal, and what I meant by that was like they are sort of like because it's modern, right? And like I feel like modern kids are less afraid of ghost stories than like kids from the fucking 70s or 80s or whatever. And it's because of that like hyper online, always online thing, right? I don't know if that makes sense or if I'm making sense, but I feel like...
Well, you can only watch like so many seasons of different shows of Ghost Hunter before you're like, yeah, this is some bullshit.
Well, I just feel like having so much information at your fingertips just naturally makes you...
Yeah, you get numb to all that shit.
Yeah, just not believe in that.
You see so much. You see all the fucking fake ghost shows and all the other fake ghost stories and all this shit. So.
Yeah, it's sort of the way Dusty and I talk about how we don't really get scared by horror movies anymore because we're desensitized to it. These kids who are fucking, hyper online, they're desensitized to just fucking life in general, which is why I thought this was really smart of a movie and of a story, because they're so desensitized to everything. Like this is the only thing that they could do to like give them some sort of like rush or whatever the fuck.
Yep.
But what'd you think of this movie, Marvin? Did you? I remember you said in Discord you liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I thought it was really good. I didn't know it was such a cheap budget for sure. I would never have thought it was like $4 million or whatever.
It was filmed great. It had great direction. Like I said, great acting. Like it had all the makings of like a movie that you would expect to have a bigger budget, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure. But as much as I liked the plot and as much as smart as I thought it was, I did think it was pretty predictable, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it was predictable, which it would have easily been predictable based on, what was going on. But I think the areas where the thing that you were going to predict, where they actually happened, I don't think that was predictable. Well, I didn't think it would be Riley that would be his mom.
Oh, I did
necessarily. Yeah, I didn't. So
no, that's fair. I mean,
that was a bit of a twist. Like her seeing her mom.
I knew it was someone was going to be her mom, but I didn't necessarily think it was going to be Riley for sure.
Well, I knew something was shitty was going to happen to Riley. Just the way it happened, like that shit was fucking hard to watch. That was violent as fuck.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But I did think it was going to be Riley only because of the conversation that they had prior.
Yeah.
When he was like sleeping in her bed, and like you knew they were really close and stuff like that. Like it had to be, in my opinion. So I knew that was going to happen. And towards the end of the film, spoilers, I knew she was going to stab her dad to death with the scissors. Like there were just there were little elements that, like, I guess if you watch enough horror movies, you could tell. But I think, I don't know. It just those two things specifically, I felt very confidently were going to happen. But you know, this is the kind of horror that I always talk about, though. This is the kind of horror that I prefer. It's the kind of movie where there really aren't any answers, and there's no stopping the thing, right? Like the evil thing or whatever the fuck is happening.
Right.
There's really nothing you can do about it. There's no final battle. There's nothing like that. You just did something stupid, or you're in an unlucky
situation. And there's
situation.
no resolution.
Yeah.
Because we don't know.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a resolution, but you know,
she dies.
Yeah. But
spoiler.
Yeah, she dies, but we'll go into it a little bit more. But you know, it's that plot where like you did something stupid, or the stars did something stupid, or you're in a bad situation, and that's it. You just fucked. Like there's nothing you can do to get out of it.
Yeah.
And it reminded me very much of It Follows. It's a very similar structured movie, and at the end of It Follows, you know, they're just walking together, and you're left to wonder, like, well, the entity's eventually going to get to them again, because that's the rules that were established. And in this movie, you mentioned she dies at the end, and we get this little glimpse of her coming through to another group of kids that are using the hand, and you just get the sense that, like, yeah, this is just going to continue to happen because kids are kids, and this fucking thing is out there, or whatever the fuck. So yeah, there is no resolution. When I kind of questioned what you were saying, there is a resolution to this group of people that we spend the movie with. But yeah, you're totally right. But so yeah, speaking of the rules that are established, I kind of touched on it a bit. If you're in it for longer than 90 seconds, you're fucked. Other than that, there really wasn't anything, and I think that gave them a lot of leniency in the writing. But I think the plot logic was pretty shaky overall.
Well, you learned also that like they'll just grow weak and leave if you like. So they could have just put Riley in a padded room and waited it out.
But you don't learn that until like the last 10 minutes of the movie,
right?
And by that point, it is
talking to Duckett's brother.
Yeah, and by that point, it's basically meaningless to her, Mia. There was a lot of like, again, I say the plot.
Yeah, well, because she had been bamboozled by that point.
Right.
By, you know,
whatever
by
the fuck.
her mom, but it wasn't really her mom. It was like some malicious spirit or something, right? So,
and this is why I say the plot logic was a little bit shaky, because you have the one established rule. And again, while I like movies that don't have explanations or they aren't overly explained and they're left ambiguous, I think this movie needed a little bit of something, because
a little bit more,
because you don't know what the hand is or where it came from. We hear a little like urban legend, like rumor has it came from a fucking medium or whatever.
Medium.
Yeah.
And that's more or less confirmed at the end of the movie, when in the spirit world, she's like sitting at like a fucking table with a candle and like actually shaking like a hand of like a spirit or whatever the fuck. And so, but you don't know, like it seems like only malicious spirits are coming through, but that's like shaky logic. If you believe in that sort of thing, or even if you don't, and you just seen other paranormal shit, it's like, it's not just malicious spirits that exist. So where are like where are like the cool spirits? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like, why did they want the boy? There's like this thing that happens. All right, so we might as well get into it. Riley wants to do this to be cool. And he sits down and he's fucking, and this is again another thing that makes no sense about this movie, because he initially sees Mia's mom, and you know it from his reaction when he first shakes the hand. He's like really fucked up about it. Knows it's her mom. We know it's her mom at that point.
Yep.
He says, "I let you in," and then all of a sudden, this kid starts fucking smashing his fucking head into shit and fucking going berserk. And it's like, well, clearly that wasn't Mia's mom.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's that little moment before that starts to happen where he's like talking to Mia and he's like, "Hey, me," you know, and she realizes like he's possessed by her mom, and she gets very emotional, and like she becomes like obsessed with getting back into contact with her mom. And it's very clear it's this malicious spirit like bamboozling her.
Yep.
But like, if that were me, I'd be like, well, yeah, you're not my fucking mom, because my mom wouldn't have made this kid smash his fucking head in.
Yeah, why would you do that, Mom?
Or fucking try to pull his eyeball out. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was crazy, yeah.
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 So, yeah, that kind of annoyed me for the whole movie. I'm like, it's just not me as mom. Like, like, I get it that you're upset that your mom is dead and that you are desperate to, like, you know, she has no closure.
Well, desperate people will believe anything, especially.
It's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one thing that I didn't really like as well, because like you put your hand on it and you say, talk to me. You see the spirits. So that would make me allude that you can actually talk to the spirits. Like the whole I let you in is the drug rush of being possessed by the spirit. You don't have to be possessed to talk to them. That's for other people to talk to them, I guess. But and it was never explained or talked about. Like,
right.
But if you say, talk to me, and the spirit shows up, and there's like, no, and then tried it again. Like, I would just keep doing that until I got to a good spirit that I wanted to have a conversation with and just talk to him.
Yeah, you don't have to say, let me in. I let you in. I let you in was just the drug rush part
that
of it.
Shit.
Right.
Yeah.
But the initial part is just summoning a spirit, being like, talk to me. And then, boom, a spirit pops up. If I seen some fucking woman who's bloated from drowning and like she's fucking not looking, she's not looking good. And
I'm not going to say the words.
Right. I'm just gonna be like,
no.
yeah, no, I'll catch you later, Ghost. On to the next one.
Fuck off. That's what I would say.
It would be like chat roulette,
re-roll.
like with Ghost version, just like constantly trying to get something different. So that was something like, again, a lot of the plot logic in this movie like really didn't really do it for me, just because it wasn't thought out enough, really. And I guess there's, you know, any movie like this, you got to suspend your disbelief or whatever. But like,
sure,
I don't know. This is one of the rare moments where I'm thinking like Dusty, and I'm like, the logic is kind of just not making a lot of sense there. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a very smart premise. And you know, we've seen stuff similar to this. As I've said, It Follows is one of those movies. Jacob's Ladder was really like poking me in the back of my head watching this. It's very similar to Jacob's Ladder in terms of Mia's experience in this movie. I know, Marvin, you haven't seen Jacob's Ladder, and I'm actually considering doing it for Make Marvin Watch over what we previously talked about, because it's one of the best horror movies ever made. And I don't want to say too much in case I do make you watch it, but her experience in this is very similar. Did you get any of that, Dusty? Because I know you've seen Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah. I didn't think about it, but yeah, I hadn't seen that movie in a while. So.
But it seems like they were trying to capture that, like, It Follows magic or whatever, where the entity in the movie is the allegory, like I said, for STDs. We got the fucking drugs and the this and the that. But, you know, I think all that to say, again, I think this was a pretty innovative premise, despite pulling inspiration from some other stuff. And I also think that it's such a unique premise that it avoids a lot of the overused tropes in horror movies that we see often, mostly jump scares. There weren't really any jump scares in this movie. There were startling moments, especially the first time she got possessed and like fucking throws her head back, and it's just like a jarring moment. But there weren't really any traditionally horror jump scares that they kind of went for. And I really appreciated that.
This is really creepy at times. Like,
yeah. You know, movies like this, you have teenagers, you got ghosts and the supernatural, and it's fucking ripe for jump scares. But, you know, they don't do that. And it actually reminded me a little bit of the first Insidious movie and like the Haunting of Hill House show, where those two things, they sort of let the audience kind of discover the horror within it. Insidious has always stuck out to me because there's always like things happening in the background. Do you remember that movie?
Slightly.
One of my favorite scenes in all of horror is when Rose Byrne is like just doing tasks around the house. She's doing the laundry and she goes through the kitchen, and just out of focus in the background, there's the kid standing in the corner. And you like, you almost don't notice it, but you do. And then you're like, wait a second. And then she comes back and the kid's gone. Like, I love shit like that. And this movie kind of does a lot of stuff like that too. So yeah, they avoided a lot of the tropes that we usually see in horror movies, and they did it without having to sacrifice the things that we do appreciate about horror movies. There are those creepy moments, like Dusty said. You are pretty, like, some of the ghosts are visually terrifying. The shit that happens to fucking Riley is like disturbing as fuck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it had, like, I was sitting there, I was like, oh fuck, like, what are you doing, bro? Like, when he's fucking grabbing his eyeball, like, it was really effective.
I thought he was gonna split his face open until his sister put her hand on. I was like,
yeah, it was really, it was really fucking effective. And I think that's because they avoided those tropes. And, you know, I think it made the movie more of like a character piece almost, that's more grounded. And when you do get those gory moments like that, they have way more of an impact than if that's just the whole fucking movie. So like, I don't actually think this movie was scary. Did you guys find it scary?
Nah,
not scary. No, like I said, yeah, very creepy and very disturbing at times, but not scary.
Yeah. I was never really scared. I mean, it was like, you know, it's creepy, but other than that one scene, which again, I thought was very effective. And anytime they actually did because again, there's not a lot of actual horror throughout this movie. So I say it's more of a character movie, more of a drama.
Yeah.
But the little moments where the horror stuff is sprinkled in, I did think it was pretty effective. But again, I wasn't like scared.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. I can't even remember the last time I've been scared in a horror movie.
Right, that's the thing. So it's like, yeah.
The only movie I could think of...
Well, you desensitize yourself after you watch too many.
Yeah, the only movie that comes to mind is Hereditary. And that's not so much fear as it is like just unrelenting, crippling anxiety through that movie, which is different. Yeah. It's a different feeling. But yeah, what else you guys got to say? Marvin, hit me with it. What's your favorite scene?
Favorite scene? As fucked up as it is, probably the scene with Riley fucking destroying himself. That's probably my favorite scene.
Yeah, that shit was crazy. It was crazy, yeah.
I mean, I thought about that scene for a little while after it happened. I was like, okay, wait, so he didn't go 90 seconds, but I mean, maybe he's younger and so he's more impressionable, and that's why the demon was able to, or this whatever, was able to take care and say, I don't want to, you know, try to kill him, because if you die, it stays in you or whatever.
Yeah.
Or it stays there. So it's like, maybe because he's younger, it's more effective, but they're all kids, so that doesn't make sense. But then you think about it, and whenever the other person was possessed, they pointed at Riley and said, they really like you and they want you.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
maybe there's just certain people who are more predisposed to having that effect. But like, I hope they delve into that stuff, because even the scene, like when Mia starts seeing stuff and she sees Riley in the other world, like being like molested and tortured by all those fucking
what the fuck
dead people, like that was like, what the fuck? Like, and you know, that's the kind of stuff I'm like, oh, what is that? I want to know more about that. What's going on with that? And it's just gone, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, I think what
so it was
made
a little frustrating
Riley
at times, but yeah.
I think what made Riley weak was maybe because he knew, or he was familiar with the ghost that he let in. I don't know why you would ever let a ghost in to you that you are familiar with, but
well,
I think that might have, like you said, maybe not his age so much as it just made him more weak-spirited than what they had calculated before with the 90 seconds. Or it could have been a combination of both.
Well, if you look to paranormal movies of, you know, that have just existed, or stories in general, it's usually like a theme that like spirits are more drawn to children.
That's true, yeah.
For whatever fucking reason, whether it be they're younger and more virile or more sensitive. They're always just more attracted to kids. So that's why I say like there's a lot of leniencies that this movie takes, where it's like they just don't really explain anything, and
but even that is kind of a trope in itself, because it's just like kids that are possessed is just creepy. Like, that's scary shit.
For sure.
Like Children of the Corn.
That's true.
For sure. But I never even...
Or The Exorcist.
Well, so just to correct you, they never actually got to pull him out. or pull the spirit out because he started freaking the fuck out.
Yes.
And they didn't blow out the candle.
And they didn't blow out the candle.
Specifically said.
Right. But, you know.
But that was the first time that we know of that it was able to take possession and fucking start hurting Riley in that form.
Some of the questions that I have, though, right, which again, I would love to have had explained even a little bit, because I was ultimately left. That's why, again, I said to Marvin, like, was there resolution? Because, I don't know. By the end of this movie, Mia is like losing her fucking shit. She's communicating with the spirit of her mom, who's like clearly not her mom. And her mom's her mom is turning her against her dad. And like, we find out that Mia's mom like actually committed suicide, and her dad was like, that was what her dad was like obviously hiding from her the whole time. Again, another pretty predictable thing in my opinion. So Mia's being manipulated by this spirit, and ultimately she's being manipulated to actually kill Riley. Yeah. So he could just become
the old guy,
part of the spirit realm or whatever the fuck. Because she does have that vision where he's being like molested by them, and the mom is like, "Oh, the only way you could save him is to fucking kill him, free him, so I could watch, so I could look after him." And you know, then once she's gonna like roll him out into fucking traffic, and then ultimately she's like, "Oh wait, I'm gonna kill myself instead." She jumps out into traffic. She's dead. The end of the movie, we get this montage of her walking through the hospital where she's slowly but surely realizing that she's now dead. And obviously time works different for the dead. So like weeks or months have passed, and Riley's like recovered in the hospital. He's like, they're taking him home, this, that, and the third. But like, was he ever possessed? We don't know. Or was she just being manipulated to think he's possessed, and we're watching the movie from the perspective of her? Because the only times he ever freaks out post the first freak out is with her. Well, actually, no, he does freak out.
No,
with
he
the
was
sister.
in the hospital. He had to be possessed to bust his face open.
He freaks out with his sister when he's getting a bath, and then he starts smashing his head again. So, like, I don't really get any of it. Like, if he's already possessed, why does he have to die? And then why are the spirits trying to manipulate her to kill him?
Well, he didn't have to die. That was just them manipulating her to try and kill him because I don't know. But
why? They already had a grip on him.
Because
apparently.
we already had the lore established that he doesn't, you know, if he just stays safe long enough,
they get weakened,
the
I guess.
loses power and leave.
Yeah. I don't know. There was a lot of like, I don't know. You got to take a lot of leaps to arrive at some
more
of the
questions
stuff.
than answers, and some of those questions were a little disappointing because you said that like some of the plot devices or plot holes were, well, wait a minute. But I think
the movie would have been improved for with some explanation in those regards. But yeah, that's my really only gripe. Again, acting I thought was fucking phenomenal. The direction was amazing. It was shot really well.
For a first-time feature film, I thought it was amazing.
I really love the lighting.
What more can you ask for?
Really not much. I love the lighting in the movie. I want to talk about that a little bit because a lot of times in horror movies, when it's dark, it's like motherfuckers just didn't pay the fucking light bill. It's like, because that's something you talk about dusty logic. I ask that shit all. It's like, where are these people? Why aren't the fucking lights on in any of these movies? This movie was good because it gave you like moody, dark, atmospheric lighting without it being fucking stupid and looking unrealistic. Right. Like it's dark in my room right now, but I could fucking see everything. If there was a motherfucker standing in the corner, like I could see it. So that's always a gripe that I have. This movie had great lighting. So yeah, I appreciate a lot of what the movie did. It was very close to being in like the upper echelon, I think, of recent horror movies, but I don't think it's quite there. Yeah. I really wish they stayed focused on the character-driven stuff because it feels like they wanted to both flesh out these spirits and what they do and kind of what they want and why they're there, but then they never really do, like we were just talking about. So ultimately, it's a very good film. It's a very sad film, really. It's actually very sad.
Super sad.
I cried.
I just hope they flush it out in the sequel and not just do more of the same.
I cried a bunch of times, honestly, through the scenes between Mia and her mom. I thought they were really sad. And, you know, I like that ultimately in this movie better than the spooky stuff. It had a very melancholy ending where, again, it just kind of leaves you feeling sad for her and like, wow. There is no resolution.
I felt sad. I don't know if I think it's kind of implied that her dad lives. Yeah. So I feel the saddest for him.
Yeah. There's a lot of people to feel sad for.
Wife killed herself, daughter kill herself.
Tries to kill him,
Now
and
he's
then
just
kills
alone.
herself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty depressing movie, to be honest.
Yeah, it is.
And I use the term elevated horror, but I actually don't like that term because I think it's pretty pretentious. And people who do talk is like, I don't like that shit. I like elevated horror. It could come off as annoying, and but when that is mentioned, it's stuff like this that people are talking about, stuff that like ultimately tries to innovate, and I think this movie did do that. Is it A24's scariest movie yet? Absolutely not. I don't think so. Not close. But A24 is definitely leading the charge in like innovative horror films with this. You've got fucking Midsommar and like all of his movies now, fucking Beau is Afraid, and you got fucking what's his name doing movies like The Witch. He's part of like the A24 like verse.
Hereditary.
Yeah, Hereditary. Like they're definitely leading the charge for sure. So this has a 7.2 on IMDb. I would give this probably like a 6.5.
Yeah. 6.5, 7. Yeah. Something like that.
I'd give it a 7. Just because it was their first time out. I don't think it deserves a bump, but
that's fair.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah, I mean, if you're scared of ghosts and like believe in that goofy shit, I could see this movie being scary for you. But if you're not and you just appreciate good storytelling and movies that like push storytelling within certain genres, I would definitely recommend checking this out. I don't think it was scary. And yeah, I think it's fairly rated. Like you said, I mean, for a first time outing with mostly unknown actors that did such a fucking good job. Especially like the kid, Riley, like I'm going to credit his name again. Joe Bird. Like he really was amazing in this. And again, she was too. Like she hit a whole wide range of shit.
Yeah,
the mom.
It was good.
I knew.
Oh, you knew the mom?
I do without a
sequel
with this.
I think. It's a movie that doesn't need a sequel, but it made $1 billion versus budget.
Yeah.
So it's, of course,
they're probably going to do a sequel. If they don't do a sequel, though, I hope the main actress and actor, Riley and Mia, hope they go on to do amazing things because they were great.
For sure.
Yeah, you didn't know who the mom is?
No.
Eowyn from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's the only big Hollywood actor in the movie.
I didn't recognize her.
She was recognizable.
Yeah, I mean, as for a sequel, I could see like, there's a whole new group of kids by the end of the movie that had the thing, and they were going to communicate with Mia. So I could see them doing something where like Mia comes through and like tries to get back in touch with like Riley or whoever the fuck, maybe.
Just in case Riley actually didn't get out of the hospital.
But things go horribly wrong is probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, some shit. I don't know.
Because I guess you could say that Riley didn't actually get out of the hospital or whatever.
Well, the whole thing could just be in Mia's head.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different things they could do. Yes, I think this movie it works the way it is. Just end it and that's it. She died. That's our ending. Move on.
Yep.
But it is the way it is. Things get sequels that do well. It's just how it be.
Yeah.
Hopefully keep the budget
over. Yep.
Small. I didn't need a like $250 million budget.
But yeah, there you have it, folks. There's our thoughts on Talk to Me. Let us know if you watched it and what you thought of it. I'd be interested to see. I mean, it's getting like pretty good praise everywhere, and we all loved it. So, like I said, despite those little shortcomings, I thought it was great. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with us this week, folks. Once again, be sure to check out harshlanguage.tv for all our links. If you're new here, consider subscribing and hitting that bell button because you'll be notified when new videos come out. We generally haven't. What?
Where's the bell?
Oh,
yep.
Like by Dusty's breast. Yeah, down there. Yeah.
Somewhere.
But we generally have a new episode every Tuesday, and for the month of October, we're doing only horror movies. So if you're a horror film buff, definitely check us out. Next week, we're going to be checking out the new Hulu film, No One Will Save You, right? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
And I'm pretty hyped to watch that one. It looks pretty good.
Me too. Yeah.
Looks pretty good. So be sure to check back then. But otherwise, once again, thanks for hanging out with us this week, and we will catch you next time.
Austin.
See ya.